Alright, I'm going to be doing this unscripted because I'm not going through the hassle of scripting something just to explain some weird lore. But anyways, no one really figured out the Lisp timeline, mainly because I can't really make a story explaining something, even though that's what Lisp specifically is. But yeah, Lisp it just throws things at you. It's really hard to understand, and if you didn't understand it, it's okay. No one did. That's the point. But if you want to understand it, that's kind of what this video is all about. And yeah, I'll start explaining the timeline and such, but before I do, I'm going to explain, like, who's who, you know? Because there are a total of 7 actors, 8 if you include the cat, I guess. We're not including the cat. But basically there were 7 actors, but you can take a guess. There are much less characters. There are 3 characters in the series. I know you're thinking there's the 4 people in the Lisp title: Lexer, Isabella, Samson, Perry, first thing in their names make up Lisp. If you couldn't tell from Lisp 2, it kind of gave it away that Samson is Perry. It's a whole, I didn't think of it during Lisp 2. That was like the premise of Lisp 1. I'll explain it later, just in case you haven't figured it out. But yeah, Samson is Perry. And if we look at this little chart I made on MS Paint, we'll see that basically each generation is 7 years later, but in order for Samson to become Perry, he has to get stuck in the past and then have to go to Paris to wait 7 years. And then that's what makes him have his French accent. And then 7 years later, in 2026, he gets older and there's another actor. So basically there's 2 actors for each person. 2 of them just so happens to be the same actor because it's the same person, same age. Why not same actor? So yeah, if there's something you're confused about, basically in this entire video, just leave a comment and I'll be sure to answer. But yeah, there's really only one situation where Samson doesn't become Perry, and that's during 2006 in the one situation where there's no time travel and he doesn't get stuck in the past. But either way, let's start with the timeline. You see this? It's pretty whack, but I'll explain everything here. Here we have a little chart of who's who. There's Sylvester, Isabella, Samson, Lexer, Perry, and Team 26. Basically, I just took the 4 people that were in Lisp 2, the older people, and I just grouped them together to one line, just so that I'm not moving 4 lines at once when they move back and forth. So let's start from the beginning. So at the very beginning, Sylvester dies, eating bad ham and whatnot. Ignore the red line. I'll get to that complicated situation later. 7 years later, Isabel creates a time machine to go back and save Sylvester. Isabella gives it to Lexer to give to Samson so that he can use it to save it, but Lexer uses it for himself, and it's revealed that he does this so that he can see his grandfather. That was just put there so that, Lexer isn't such a bad and dumb guy. But either way, he goes back, takes Sylvester to the present, and Isabel's like, what the crap, why didn't you give it to Samson? Doesn't listen to a thing Lexer has to say, gives the machine to Samson. He goes back in time, can't find Sylvester, and gets stuck, because the machine only has 3 uses, and 2 of them were used to bring Lexer back and then forth. So yes, Samson is stuck in the past, and now Isabella and Lexer have Sylvester but no Samson. It's pretty sad. But with Samson getting stuck, this is revealed in Lisp 2, he goes to Paris just because he really doesn't have anywhere else to go. And then 7 years later, he returns so that he can set things straight. So, whole thing happens again where Isabella creates the time machine, gives it to Lexer to give to Samson. But this time, Perry intervenes, and this is like a really complicated situation. But before I say anything, there's one thing I have to admit. There's a scene in the original Lisp that doesn't make sense in the timeline. It's when Perry goes into Isabella's home to fuel up his machine. That was supposed to be after he kicks Samson. But you see a scene where Isabella walks in and is like, who got into this? And that... No. That should not have happened. That... When she's trying to refill her machine, she should not have seen that. I'm sorry, because that thing happened later, and I kind of messed up and thought it was earlier, so I added that scene in. But it was wrong. It was wrong. So, don't worry about the who got into that scene. Either way, off to Lexer going back in time. This part is really hard to explain. I'll try to my best. But Lexer goes back. Perry has this whole plan where he puts his machine that he got from way back when he got stuck in the past, he puts it down, it's empty, and goes to the past with Lexer. He slams the door to wake up Isabella. She comes back, and all she sees is an empty machine on the floor and no Lexer. So to her, she assumes that, hey, Lexer just went into the past and he can't get out because the machine's right here. I have to go save him. Meanwhile, in the past, Perry follows him, grandfather stuff, yada yada yada, and Perry stops Lexer from taking Sylvester to basically make sure that he stays alive. And then Isabella follows by refilling the machine and whatnot. And then Perry's like, hey, let's all go back to 2019. But this is leading up to him kicking Samson. None of this stuff is really shown, but basically, he's trying to gather Lexer and Isabella into the same place so that he can skedaddle and go unnoticed and teach Samson things. So, as Lexer and Isabella go home, Perry follows behind and secretly goes to Samson and teaches him things. Like, he teaches Samson, which is 7 years ago, younger himself, everything he knows. And then kicks him into the past with a machine with no fuel. And there we go. That's where Lisp 2 comes in. So in Universe C, like, I have these universes kind of labeled here, but in Universe C, Perry's like, alright, let's continue the cycle and make sure the stuff all repeats and such. But, oh, no, that's the other Perry. Man, even I'm getting confused. So basically, wow. Alright, so the first Perry, okay, this is something I was going to cover. Why he kicked Samson into the past wasn't to conserve a loop. It was to create some kind of, like, utopian universe where everything exists. So he saves Sylvester, makes sure Perry exists, and, like, everyone exists in that universe. Because he's like, screw this universe, because there's no Sylvester, because Lexer took it in Universe A. So he decided, Universe C, boom. Utopian universe, everything's okay. And one thing he did not predict, he assumed that Isabella could create another machine, and that there would also be time travel. But butterfly effect goes on, with Sylvester actually being alive, he bites Isabella's thumb off, and she doesn't go on to study and become a mastermind in engineering, but she becomes like a mastermind in like literature arts or anything but engineering. So she can't create a machine. Whoop-de-doo, and looks like they can't have a machine in Universe C. But hey, they accept it because we have basically everyone here. 7 years even later, 2026. There's news flash. Holy crap. We have the fuel for the machine existing right here in Springfield. That's just the name I gave the town, just to make it very unobvious. And since Perry has his machine, if they got the fuel, boom, we can time travel. So that's what they just do. They invade the lab, and they only get a Q-tip worth of fuel, which only grants them 3 uses. And Perry's like, I know what to do. Big brain move. He goes 14 years in the past. He basically frames the death of the cat on Bad Turkey, but they murder it. I don't know why they couldn't have just like made him go just like take the cat for themselves, but that I didn't think of that. Murdering sounded more fun. But basically they frame the death of Sylvester on the Bad Turkey just so that they could create a universe exactly like Universe A and create a loop where if everything happens, it just loops itself. ABC, ABC, ABC. And then they wait in Universe A 2012 to 2019 so that the machine and fuel existed. And it's not really shown, but it's heavily implied that they take all of the fuel that Isabella has and do something. It's an unanswered question what they do after that. But yeah, that's what they do. So basically this whole thing is a loop. It ravels against each other, and that's what Perry's trying to do. He wants to make no more complications, no more crazy shenanigans, and just loop the timeline. And that's what happens. I hope you can understand. Again, if you are still confused about something, please tell me. And yeah, here's one thing I want to address. There are unanswered questions. I added things that aren't to be answered because, 1, it adds mystery to the show, and 2, if I wanted to create more of LISP, I could easily do it by answering these questions. One question is, what did Team 26 do after they took the fuel from Universe A? We don't know. Maybe they took it to a museum, took it to scientists, maybe they traveled the world or something. Who knows? They could go wherever or whenever they want. So it's really up to them. What did Perry do after he kicked Samson into the past in Universe B? This one is like really iffy, because whatever he did, it prevented them from being able to go back, because they have a machine and they have fuel. He must have done something to the machine or fuel to disallow them to go back, because they don't want him interfering with his utopian universe. So that would be my guess. I have some ideas of what could go on, but nothing in specific. That's up to you guys. If you guys have any like cool suggestions or guesses to what these questions are, go ahead and ask them. Another thing, why can't Isabella make another time machine and fuel after they get taken away to save Samson? This goes for a bit of both Universe A and Universe B. In Universe A, they don't have the fuel or the machine, because the machine is with Samson and the fuel is taken by Team 26. In Universe B, who knows? Something happened. I don't know. But why can't she create another one? And that's a lingering question. And yeah, that's basically how everything happened. And that's all I want to address. But if you are actually like following along and you understand a few of these things, I have one like extra credit thing for you. If you're a good time traveling crazy man and you want to understand even more of this, I have one extra credit thing. What happened in the original universe with the Universe A, but at the very beginning, before Team 26 happened, there had to be a very like origin universe where Team 26 didn't actually come back and kill Sylvester. What happened there to start the whole loop? Because there's no Team 26 to kill the cat or take the fuel. What happened? We don't know, but whatever it happened, it led on to the crazy shenanigans and started it all. It had to be something similar to the regular Universe A with Team 26, but there's really no way of knowing. So, you could think about that. So, that's all. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Hopefully you were intrigued by this craziness. Oh, even I can't comprehend a lot of this. But hey, it's what you gotta do. Have a great day. I love you all.